there is an invisible force shaping the hierarchy of the modern world. It is a force so quiet, so unassuming, that the vast majority of humanity walks past it every single day without a second glance. It does not demand immediate attention. It does not boast. It simply waits, operating in the background of our lives, silently separating those who master their own psychology from those who are mastered by it. Albert Einstein supposedly called it the eighth wonder of the world, stating that those who understand it, earn it, and those who don't, pay it. That force is compound interest, but to call it merely a financial concept is to profoundly misunderstand its true nature. Compounding is not just a mathematical formula, taught in high school classrooms and quickly forgotten. It is a fundamental law of nature, a psychological crucible, and the ultimate mechanism of power and leverage. It is the secret architecture behind every great empire, every massive fortune, and every individual who has elevated themselves from nothing to absolute sovereignty over their own time and destiny. To truly grasp compounding, we must first confront a deep, uncomfortable truth about human biology. The human brain was not designed to understand exponential growth. For hundreds of thousands of years, our ancestors lived in a linear world. If you walked for 1 day, you covered a certain distance. If you walked for 2 days, you covered twice that distance. If you gathered 10 berries, you had 10 berries. If you gathered for another hour, you had perhaps 20. Everything was additive. Our neurological wiring is optimized for the immediate, the visible, and the linear. Because of this evolutionary baggage, we are blind to the curve. When we look at a starting sum, perhaps a mere $100, we view it through the lens of linear addition. We think about what that money can buy today, or perhaps what it might look like if we added another 100 to it next month. We fail to see the sleeping giant within that capital. We fail to see that money is not just a medium of exchange, it is a workforce. Every single dollar is an employee, and the beautiful, ruthless truth of compound interest is that your employees do not sleep. They do not eat, and they do not demand weekends off. They work tirelessly to recruit more employees, who in turn recruit even more. Let us look at the mathematics of the gods. The mechanism of compounding is expressed in a single, unyielding equation. In this formula, the principal balance, P, is merely the seed. The annual interest rate, R, is the soil. The number of times interest is compounded per year, N, is the climate. But the true power, the absolute king of this equation, is time. Notice that time is an exponent. It is not multiplying the base, it is elevating it. This mathematical reality means that in the early stages, the growth is painfully, almost insultingly slow. If you invest a small amount of money at a standard 10% annual return, the first few years will test your sanity and discipline. You will look at your accounts and see pennies of growth. You will watch others taking risks and chasing viral trends. You will watch them indulge in the immediate gratification of modern consumerism, and you will feel foolish. This is the psychological trap. This is the filter that eliminates the weak-willed. The philosopher Arthur Schopenhauer spoke of the will, a blind, endless striving. Modern society is built entirely to prey upon this will. The machinery of marketing is designed to sacrifice your future power for present comfort. They want you to trade the exponent for the immediate integer. To master compound interest, you must develop an ironclad suppression of this primal urge. You must operate with a cold, calculated rationality that looks decades into the future. Consider the historical precedent of compounding power. The great families of the Renaissance, the early banking dynasties, did not maintain their power through sheer brute force. They maintained it through the unrelenting mathematics of compounding capital. They understood that wealth is a snowball rolling down an endless hill. Once it reaches a certain mass, its own gravity pulls in more wealth faster than anyone could possibly build it from scratch. We often hear the ancient parable of the chessboard and the grain of rice. The inventor of chess asks the emperor for a reward. 1 grain of rice on the first square, 2 on the second, 4 on the third, doubling until the 64th square. The emperor, a man of power but trapped in linear thinking, laughs at the seemingly pitiful request. By the time they reach the second half of the chessboard, The amount of rice required exceeds the entire global harvest. The emperor is ruined. This story is not a fairy tale, it is a blueprint. The early squares of the chessboard represent your 20s and 30s. You are putting down 1 grain, then 2, then 4. It looks like nothing. The mass of society laughs. They tell you to live in the moment. They tell you that life is short. But those who understand power dynamics know that the ultimate freedom is not a fancy car today. It is the absolute refusal to bow to anyone tomorrow. Let us break down exactly how this manifests in the real world, starting with the psychology of the investor. True wealth is not generated by catching lightning in a bottle. It is not about day trading penny stocks or finding a secret loophole in the market. Those are the pursuits of gamblers, driven by the dopamine loops of the casino. The master of compound interest is fundamentally boring. They are stoic, they invest in broad market index funds, solid assets, and enduring businesses. They understand that market crashes, recessions, and global panics are merely temporary noise in the grand, sweeping upward curve of human progress and economic expansion. When the market drops, the amateur panics and sells, realizing their losses and breaking the chain of compounding. The master sees a sale. They understand that the formula has not changed, only the entry price. But there is a dark side to this invisible force. Just as compound interest can elevate you to the ranks of the untouchable, it can also crush you with an inescapable weight. The financial system understands this mathematics perfectly, and it uses it against the uninformed masses. Credit card debt, high-interest loans, and predatory lending are the exact same formula running in reverse. When you owe money at 20% interest, you are fighting against the current of a roaring river. You become the employee working tirelessly to feed the bank's compounding machine. You are the peasant on the wrong side of the chessboard. To understand wealth, you must have an absolute, almost visceral hatred for high-interest debt. It is the ultimate destroyer of time and agency. Compounding, however, extends far beyond the realm of capital. The psychological and philosophical applications of this law are arguably even more potent. Knowledge compounds. Every book you read, every complex concept you master, every piece of human behavior you analyze adds to a framework in your mind. At first, you are just memorizing facts. But over time, the ideas begin to interact with each other. You start seeing patterns that others miss. Your ability to strategize, to influence, and to read the room grows exponentially. A man who reads 1 hour a day is not just 365 hours smarter at the end of the year. His understanding has compounded, making him capable of insights that the non-reader could not fathom in a lifetime. Influence compounds. When you build an audience, when you create work that resonates, your reputation precedes you. One successful project opens the door to 3 more. A network of powerful individuals introduces you to an even wider web of influence. The effort required to get your first 100 supporters is often immense, back-breaking work. The effort required to go from 100,000 to 200,000 is a fraction of that, because the network itself is doing the heavy lifting. If you are starting from zero, if you are looking at a mere $100 and wondering how it can possibly mean anything in a world of billionaires, you must shatter your linear illusions. That $100 is the first grain of rice. The path to wealth is not a sprint, it is a siege. It requires the emotional control of a philosopher and the ruthless patience of a predator. You must set up systems that automatically deploy your capital, removing your own flawed, emotional human nature from the equation. You must learn to derive deep psychological satisfaction, not from what you consume, but from the size of the army of capital you are building. You must view every frivolous purchase not as a loss of a few dollars, but as the assassination of those dollars' future potential. Compound interest is the ultimate test of human discipline. It is a filter that separates those who are governed by the immediate impulses of their biology from those who can execute a long-term, calculated vision. It is the secret of the elite, hidden in plain sight, protected only by the impatience of the masses. Master the math, master your mind, and time will do the rest.